Welcome back to SpeakPact. We are going to explore the world of storytelling, of creating interactive experiences for your audience, for audience connection, not just through the power of your voice, but also through the books you might put out there and some of the other things that you might serve your audience with. So today we have a very special guest who has done all of this and much more. Welcome to the stage, Brian Biro.
Thank you, Antoniette. I'm so delighted to be with you. I don't often get to speak to speakers, so it's really exciting to be on the show with you. Thank you.
Well, you are a perfect, obvious choice because you've really paid your dues in the industry. I think at 35 plus years, right, in the industry, you have spoken on now approaching 2,000 different stages throughout the world. You have 16 books underneath your belt. You've spoken to some of the top of the top companies, Fortune. I would venture to say Fortune 50s, plenty of Fortune 500s, right? So what was it that clicked for you? At what point of your professional journey did you say, you know what, I might want to utilize my voice for a major part of my business model?
Well, I think the centerpiece of everything is I love people. I believe in people. I believe that we have the capacity to change and grow and improve. And that's been kind of a guiding light through my whole life. I've had three really, really fun and powerful careers. At first, I was a United States swimming coach, went to Stanford University, came out. My buddies were going to law school and business school and medical school, but I had taught and coached swimming to help put myself through school, and I loved it. So that has actually turned into be an incredibly great training ground to be a speaker because number one, their heads are in the water. They can't hear you. You got to really use your voice. But it's also about, you don't really coach swimming. You coach people, right?
Mm.
You're really helping people to break through their fears, their obstacles, their comfort zones that have become confinement zones. So that was a great first step in my life. And I loved it, had a great run. My team became incredibly successful, but I had no life. My whole life was my work, and I didn't know myself outside of my role as coach. So I'm probably the only guy, Antoniette, who went to graduate school to get a life instead of a job. And I did. I went to UCLA, got my MBA, met my wife, started getting in really good physical condition, went into a corporate career. And that is where I really made the switch over to moving towards speaking because, again, it was the people part. I was in the transportation industry, but didn't give a hoot about transportation, just loved the people. And I saw that in our organization, we were siloed. Operations didn't like sales. Sales didn't like operations. They both hated the home office just a little bit more. And that just made no sense. So I actually started doing team building programs, became vice president of the company. The president was a real believer in the power of education. And I started doing team building, and we had an incredible turnaround. And it was because we worked together for the first time. And at the peak of this turnaround and kind of being the golden boy, because I'd been out there all over our North America, I said to my wife, honey, we're doing great. Let's quit. I want to go do this full time. This is what I'm meant to do. And so that was 35 years ago. And that's when I jumped into becoming a full-time professional speaker and an author. So it's been a path that's always the same about helping people break through those fears, obstacles, habits, or doubts. And to do it, it's a combination of individual and team because they're interconnected.
So much I want to unpack there. That's fabulous. Thank you for that, Brian. So one kind of immediate thing I'd like to have you share, especially with this much experience behind you, and I know the industry has changed a lot from the time you began to now, but what would your advice be to that speaker? And on this show, there are some very high level achievers, pro athlete, pro athletes or retired pro athletes, politicians, some ambassadors, doctors, those who have really accomplished um, some major things in their lifespan, and now they're ready to pass the torch and share some of that curated knowledge, right? So, at what point would you say you're probably safe to quit your day job? Now, I know that's going to be different for each person, but I think that the instinct is, hey, I've done all of this. Now I'm going to jump into speaking. It's going to happen overnight. Does it happen overnight? How much space, how much of a runway should they give themselves before actually quitting that
Boy,
day
that
job?
is that is a very good and very difficult question because all people are different. I can only give you my approach, and I can't really promise that it's the right approach for other people. I can promise only on the basis of what your inner voice tells you to do. I've always been a person who believes that I want to do what I love, and so I say I'm going to do what I love. And that's really the point at which I just jumped. And truthfully, Antoniette, it was, I jumped in and I hoped I was diving into the water side and not the cement
Wow.
side. That's not for everyone, but it was for me because I had this deep foundational belief that when I do what I love, good things will follow. And when I do what I love, I will find a way. So if you have a lot of doubt about that, it's not time to move. If you're really feeling like I want to do this, but I don't believe I can fully do it, then it's better to kind of do it in a slower pathway. But if you have that sense of, man, this is what I was put on earth to do, and that's where your driving force, then go for it. Because what will happen is we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system. I like to call it the RAS, and how important it is to get your RAS in gear. Your RAS is that net part of the brain that's the brain's filter system. It only lets in what's of value to you and what's a threat. And the reason why I have so much belief for me in jumping in is that once I say I'm going to be a speaker, then opportunities, people, connections that were always there, but I never saw them because I hadn't assigned the value, start showing up all the time. So I think it really comes down to your inner voice and your compelling why. And if that's strong enough, then if you leap, you're going to start to notice so many more things available to you that you would have never noticed if you were only halfway in the pool. So that would be my the best answer I can give. It really depends. If you still love what you've been doing, keep doing it, and let that be the driving force. But if you feel this call, and not and make sure it's about the way what you feel like inside when you are speaking. That's the most important motivation. Then definitely go for it full out, because if you don't, it's like driving forward but with one foot on the brake. You're not going to get anywhere. So once you made your decision, go for it. Be able to be flexible and adjust and look for different turns in the road, but definitely put that foot on the accelerator and say, this is where I'm going and I'm going to get there.
Oh, okay, fabulous. And I love that you brought it back to the individuals. You did this in two ways in what you just shared with us. Number one, when you were a swim coach, right? You were training individuals, not classes. Like, it was about the individual. I think the same is very true for audiences. You're speaking to individuals, not to a massive room of people, or you're not speaking to an audience, you're speaking to an individual. So that is huge right there. And we're going to get into how you connect with your audiences through storytelling and interactive experiences. I want to dive into that here in a moment. But first, you are absolutely, I'm with you 1,000,000%, right? Your ecosystem, your non-negotiables, what you want in your life is going to be much different than the next speaker. Also, your capacity to hold on while it's happening for you is going to be different than the next guy. So you may be somebody who loves consulting or loves whatever other of your business that you're doing. So you want to be able to have that plus travel around the world and get on these stages. Another person might be, nope, just want a keynote, that's all I want to do, right? I represent one high level professional who literally has no time except for one engagement. So if he's going to do that one engagement, it's going to come, at a price, and he doesn't have time to do consulting. Like, he is a practicing human being on a regular basis, but he's setting himself up for that day when he wants to take a couple steps back and be able to speak more and do the day-to-day less. So it's definitely going to be different for each person. But I think something that's universal is the tail, right? I don't think that you can say, I'm going to be a speaker, even with that reticular activator, um, and then it just happened overnight. You're getting the bookings, you're getting the paid bookings, right? There is a tail from the moment you make that decision to the process you go through to get findable, so that these organizations can get you those opportunities, and hopefully paid opportunities. I've noticed that. I like that you mentioned the the reticular activating system, because my husband and I were wanting to buy a car not, a few years ago, and we're in the country. So, we're not in the city. And all of a sudden, we, had our sights on this particular vehicle. All of a sudden, it's everywhere, right? Was it always there?
That's
Or,
exactly right. That's exactly right. The cars were always there, you were always there, but what made it jump out was that value. And so when you put yourself fully in something, you said, "This is important to me." All right. It lets them what's a value or a threat, and you'll start seeing things everywhere and go, "Wow, I can't believe everybody has my new car." All right. Same thing.
so when you did make that decision, how long before you could kind of breathe easy? So I'm sure you're probably, at first, I'm assuming you were going by some sort of savings, or you planned for this to sort of build up. How many months down the road, how many years down the road was it like, okay, now we're good. Now I'm just going to scale this. Um, and did you do a lot of door knocking, or did you get involved with some sort of organization that was helping you get those first few engagements?
Yeah, for me, it was not that long of a ramp. I was very, very lucky and very blessed because I had two companies that booked me a grand total of 120 times in the first year and a
Wow.
half. One was a direct sales and network marketing company that I had done some consulting with, kind of in the little bridge gap when I was deciding exactly what I would do. And there is one thing I want to say that I may have left out from the previous question. You don't jump until you feel very confident in your art, that you have worked your talk, that you have a foundational message, a foundational keynote, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that that you feel very, because that's going to give you more confidence to make that jump if that's really where your heart wants to go. But for me, that was my blessing. Was I had these two companies. One was Remax, a real estate company, and I was fortunate enough to um, I, I don't know that I can say that I'm a normal case, because I've had, of my almost 1900 events, probably 1850 of them have come word of mouth. And so it was getting that. I look at every single opportunity that you have a chance to speak, especially in the beginning. If you're going to jump in there, speak, get out there and do it. One, you're mastering your craft. Number two, every single presentation is you're planting super
Mhm.
seeds. Some of those seeds may burst out right away and flower for you. Some may be underground for years and dormant. And you think they never went anywhere, but then they'll pop up. And some may never pop up. But every time you get a chance to speak, get out and speak. And so with that foundation of those 120 events that I had from those two companies, um, everything seemed to springboard from there. So, and that is another key way to accelerate, is get some seed events. If there's an organization these were organizations that were big enough that I could go to many, many different places within the organization, whether it be regions or different functional groups within an organization. Those were fantastic. And then I did an Inc. magazine event, which had about 2,000 decision makers. So events that you can get with decision makers. And for that one was an incredible springboard for me as well. I've had hundreds of events that came from that one event. So I would say that there is a ramp, but you shorten the ramp by being totally confident in what you're going to present. And to really, if you can get that kind of a vision of every event I do is planting a seed, and I'm just going to give absolutely everything I've got to give the most value possible, then you'll start generating word of mouth, which is by far the most powerful way to build a speaking business.
Oh, okay. So many gems there, and I hope the listeners were taking notes. I took 3 pages as you were speaking, so that's fabulous. So when it kind let's talk, let's dial back. When it came to, let's say, Remax, did you call them up? Did you email them? Did they discover you at another engagement? Like, how did you get that first connection with
That was
them?
actually through a connection that somebody, a friend of mine, was connected to that particular first region I did in the Midwest for Remax. They introduced me. They took a chance on me because I was brand new.
Mhm.
You know that I did not have a big wonderful biography to jump on. They had to take a chance, and luckily it went great. And from there, it was a springboard. So it was through an individual connection making that first introduction, which is important for me. I'm not a real positive, proactive self promoter. It's hard for me to say to somebody, "Hey, I'm the greatest speaker ever. Come and get me." But once I get a chance to talk about what value I could bring after I've learned about that company, then it's not, to me, promoting. It's really getting out there and talking about the value we can bring and how it meets their needs. So
Yes.
um, that was really the key. That the first conversation I had was something that set a standard that has never changed. They wanted me initially in that first conversation to tell them what I would do for them. And I turned it around in the beginning to ask them a ton of questions before I would say a word about what I was going to do as a speaker. I needed to know about them. I needed to understand, what are your desired outcomes? Tell me about the state of mind of your team right now. What are your most important goals and direction? What have been your biggest challenges? And so even though they wanted me to start by telling them what I would do, I started by asking them what they needed, what was important to them. And then I was able to really mold my conversation around what they were excited about anyway. So always ask first and you'll come out ahead.
Brilliant advice. It drives me crazy. Any of my speakers know you're going to do some homework on on the organization, right? Know who you're speaking with, know what their core needs are. It's not about you and your polished talk. It's about how you can fill a gap for them. And you got that somehow early on, and I'm certain that made a big difference in the one-off engagement with Remax that now turned into I think you said 100 or more opportunities
Yeah.
with them. Yeah. So talk about planting super seeds. That one thing that we negotiate in with our clients are introductions, and I love that you brought that up. Introductions are worth a whole lot more than if you have to come down $5,000, right? To me, three good introductions are worth far more than that $5,000. So I love that. That's how you utilized it with Remax. How else did you get Remax, the one speaking engagement? What else did you do to make that become a whole lot more speaking engagements? And with Inc. magazine, same thing. Like what are some of the strategies that you use that convert a one-off engagement to a multi experience?
That's a great question. I have a few different specific answers. Number one is, I believe when we hear, we forget. When we see, we remember. But when we do, we
Mm,
understand. And partly my background of being an athletic coach, I'm very much a believer in interaction. And what I think you want to convey, and what I know that I conveyed in that Remax conversation, was that by the end of my presentation, my goal was for the participants to be the stars, not me, them,
mm,
to have them do things that they didn't know they could do when they walked in the room. Because when you think about it, that's what every single client wants. They want their people not to just be inspired. And that's wonderful. Inspiration is vital. If you're not inspired, you're on the way to getting expired. But what they really want is for them to feel that they can climb higher than they've ever climbed. And there's no better way to help people arise in their energy than to have them actually do what you taught before they leave the room. And so I'm known as America's breakthrough speaker because I have people break through wooden boards. And I have so much passion for it that passion is the other key, is that conveying passion about the value you can bring to that client is unbeatable. They're going to feel like, wow, this guy really loves what he does, and it's going to come over to our
mm,
people. I think the other thing that it really made a difference in moving it forward was uh, emotion, and looking at in every company I speak for, even though I'm talking to an organization, talking to a business, I'm talking to, as you said earlier, I'm talking to people. And so I talk about family. I talk about your health. I talk about much more than just the business goals of that business. And I think that is what really ultimately really matters. If I can get somebody to be inspired to be a better dad, if I get somebody to really focus on breaking through the things that they want to be better at home, it's going to pay off at work and vice versa. So that's the second key that I think really made a difference, was that they saw that I cared about the entire human being, and we get more emotional sometimes about the things that are closest to us, our family, than we do about, selling a house. So that's a second key. And the third, of course, is stories. That stories, I've done a lot of research on stories, so we can talk some more about it. But ultimately, stories are the great connector. And so when you bring, Forbes magazine years ago did a study in 2016 and found that when we deliver a message or a learning point via a story versus just the information, just the data, it is 2,200 times more connective. 2,200 times. That is a lot. So if you're going to be a speaker who's going to really impact people, and then that leading to more spin-off business, more multiple engagements with the same organization, you absolutely want to be someone who can really put your learning points through stories.
Okay, so it might sound obvious, interactive experience, right? But I think that you've probably found some right ways to do it and some not so right ways to do it, because you do risk as a speaker, especially if you just have 45 minutes or an hour, losing control of the audience, right? When you're having them interact and then it taking too much time. Can you share with us some of the ways that you infuse that interaction with still being able to guide and kind of have control over the time and the audience, but in a way that connects? I love that you connect through stories. I love that you connect through interactions. And I'll say, with the corporations that are approaching us these days, they're looking for that. People are tired of meetings. They're tired of being talked to. They want to be part of the process. So I'd love to hear what you've learned along these decades of how to do it right and maybe how not to do it.
Absolutely. I think the starting place is to recognize that one of the roles that you have, if you're going to do interaction in an event, is you're the director. It's just like the director of a movie. And a director needs to have in their mind the full picture before they start to direct that movie. Now they can adjust along. So I know exactly where we're going to go. And um, there's no way of avoiding. You've got to be prepared. You've got to have done this interactive, practice it until you've got it down. The director is in charge of the amount of time it takes. The director is in charge of what we're going to do and when we're going to do it and how it's going to flow. And so interaction must come from that place. And then you can be light and fun. Make it fun. If it feels like you're doing it to try to get a response, that's like going up to somebody and say, please love me. And unless you are, an angel, it's hard to love somebody who is forcing it. So you've got to enjoy it yourself, be light about it, but know that you're the director, and practice to where you have the timing down. As a director, once you get people engaged, then it really flows. People like to be directed and doing things they've never done before, and so I would say that's really the key distinction of, if you're going to do interaction, see yourself as that movie director. And everyone is a part of that wonderful cast, and you need to make sure that, and when you come from that place, what you do is you instill confidence that this is going to be fun. I also step into the interaction. I don't have people just jump right in and break boards in the first 5 minutes. I build that rapport, all right, through the stories and through some simpler interactions where people go, oh my gosh. I do a fun little exercise where we do a spin that's a vision exercise. And people just go, what? Wow. But it's very simple. It's nothing that puts anybody on the spot. I'm not one who loves to do anything that puts one person on the spot in front of everyone else to make fun of them. Never I will do that. Now, some people do some kinds of interaction that are more improv, and that can be really fun. But whatever it is, you are the director. You are the one who's directing how that's going to flow. Make sure you practice it and practice it and practice it till you know exactly how it works, and then you'll instill confidence in them.
Okay, so much fabulousness there. You've heard it said, I'm sure, and because you've been in the industry long enough, people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. I believe that, but I believe you take it several steps beyond that, which is brilliant. In that, in those experiences, micro transformations happen, right? You might have thought, I'm just too reserved for this, or you get to see something new that you're bringing to the table in a way maybe you hadn't seen it before. So I believe that people remember the change you made in them, right? What they're walking away with that they didn't walk into the room with initially. And through stories and interaction, it's very difficult to do it outside of that framework. And I love that you said you don't just jump right into it. Like kind of like French kissing before you even had coffee together, right? You step them into it in your framework. You draw them into the whole experience through your stories and probably your illustrations and some of your data, whatever it is that you bring to the table. So really brilliant. Did you just kind of figure this out as you went? Did you study anything? Or was it a combination of all of that?
Well, I think that I certainly paid attention to speakers that I had seen before. So I was always a student. I think being a swimming coach was a huge piece because I realized that as a swimming coach, I was a director. I directed where we were going. So that it was kind of second nature to, and I was teaching people to do physical things in a certain way and then pay attention. I think that the thing that many speakers must learn to do, it sounds a little odd, but let go of your need of approval from the audience.
Mm.
I've seen speakers who are reading the room, and the one person they pay attention to is the one person who looks like they're going to throw up. All right. And so they start talking to that one person. And what they're trying to do is trying to turn them around. Man, if you look like you're not enjoying this. And they forget that the whole audience, two things. One, the whole audience is right there. So don't just focus on that one person you think is not enjoying it. Number two, you may be wrong. They may just have an upset stomach. They may just process information by looking really intense. All right. Just let it be and come from the inside out. I'm doing what I love to do. I do it with passion, and it's like a grand brunch. I'm going to put it all out in front of you. If there's a salad over there with, marshmallows and walnuts and celery you don't like, leave it. So I just let people be. And that takes the pressure off those people who are subconsciously trying to get your attention by looking like giving you kind of some bad body language. Let them go. Don't play to one side of the room. Some people are always talking to one side of the room. Really look around the whole room and just connect. As people connect with you, you'll feel the connection. But don't let that be your driving force. Let it be, I love what I do. I believe that it can make a difference for you, and that this is about you. I get to do this. I don't have to do it. I'm not really the star of the show. I'm just the director.
One through line I'm seeing in what you've shared from the moment we stepped onto this stage together today and now, which I believe has made a massive difference in the way that your career has evolved as a speaker, is that in the very beginning with Remax, right? You asked them what they needed instead of telling them what you provide, right? And you kind of bring this into the next level when you're on stage. Probably this begins before you get on stage. What does the audience want, right? Not what I want to give them. What do they want? How I'm going to bring them into this experience, not for my pride, but for them to have a complete experience in this short time that I have with them. That people can see that. They can feel whether you're genuine, you're authentic, you care about them, or if you're just kind of putting on a show. And um, it's you can tell, right? And
Antoniette, I think that, and I may be off on this, but I truly believe, I bet that at least 85% of the people who have been to my events over the years may not remember my name, but they remember their breakthrough.
Mm,
They remember their experience. They have an actual emotional connection to that experience. In other words, they leave feeling something stronger about
mhm.
themselves. And that actually makes me happy. I mean, it'd be nice if they knew my name so they could tell somebody else. But what really matters is that they feel like they gained something, learned something, experienced something, felt something, and then did something with that new place in their spirit as they move forward. And if you come from that place, Mother Teresa said, "Service is love in action." And as a professional speaker, you are trying to live that. You are there for them, and the more that you deliver emotion, stories, interaction, authenticity, and I think that's probably the most important differentiation between a great speaker and an okay speaker is authenticity, because people can tell right away whether you're coming from truth or you just memorize something. And so I don't. I'm not even that big about. I make bumbles here and there. It's okay, um, but they know that it's real. They know it's authentic. They can feel my excitement for them, and they know that my stories really have touched. If they don't touch my own heart, how are they going to touch? How's it going to touch their heart?
Mhm.
So these stories have meaning to me, and that they're important to share, so other people learn from. Like most of my stories are about mistakes I've made in life and what I learned from them, and about my great teachers. That's what most of my stories are. My teachers are my wife, and my children. My um, Coach Wooden, who wrote the foreword to my first book, was John Wooden, who's behind me on the screen back there, was a great mentor. That's where authenticity comes from. That you feel your own stories, that you have passion about your message, and as you said, you've done your homework up front to know what's important to this group this day, so you can customize it. So it's not just the same thing. That's the other way they feel that it's not authentic, if it sounds like it's out of a can.
Yes, it sounds like it's out of a can. That's the death knell right there. Okay, the more our cultures move towards AI, and I've heard it said, that doesn't mean artificial intelligence. It actually initially, I haven't fact checked this, meant automated intelligence. And if you think about it, there's really nothing artificial if you use Jasper, Gemini, whatever it is. There's nothing artificial about the intelligence it's going out and getting. It's getting real life data. It just gets to do it a whole lot faster. What would take us days or weeks, it can go out there and grab it really quickly. So automated intelligence is growing in our lives, in each one of our lives and professions, day by day. I believe that's going to make you even more relevant, because you've got the bead right on connecting through the human side, right, through the human stories. And I believe this move is going to make the speaking industry even more in demand, because we are going to, the more our cultures move in that direction where everything's automated, we're going to crave that human piece, right? Your stories are your stories, but I can learn from them, and it makes you tangible. It makes the whole
I've
journey.
seen that happen just from COVID. On March 10th, 2020, I had 80 events booked for the year. It was my biggest year by ever. I mean, I've been very consistent all along. When you have 80 events booked in March for a year, you're going to have 130 or 140 or 150 events by the time that
Yeah.
year's done. March 10th, I had 80 events. March 15th, I had
Wow.
zero. Every single event was not postponed, because if you remember when COVID hit, it wasn't postponement, it was
Canceled.
cancel, because we don't know where we're
Yep.
going. And we went to an automated form of professional speaking. And what I've seen since we've come back to live events is exactly what you just said. People are loving it. There's a different appreciation for the connection that you can only make human to human. And I think that we do the next best thing. That's what doing remote events was doing it. Doing Zoom events and whatever our technology was. But there's nothing like, and people have that appreciation more than they ever had, because it was gone. So I think that the same thing can be said, that every time that we made a quantum leap in terms of technology from, when I was a kid, we went to the library and had to look up at these little files to find out information. We didn't have cell phones to
Dewey
go Google
Decimal
anything.
System.
And yeah, Dewey Decimal System. When kids are going, what in the world is that? All right, is that some sort of a cartoon? And now this AI is kind of the next generation of that seemingly quantum leap. When I was a kid, we had 3 channels on TV, and you asked what was on. And now, there's endless opportunities for entertainment. So I think it's vital that people recognize that we're always going to feel something as long as we're human, for human interaction, for the electricity and the connection that cannot happen any other way.
Oh, okay. I always grab quotes. I have this little thing I get to click on that cues my post-production team to go there for a quote. And that was just one that was brilliant. You talked to us about how to maximize, right, one engagement and make that multiple engagements. On the other side, how do you maximize the monetization of one engagement? Let's just say you only ever got one Remax opportunity to speak. Let's just say, um, could you have monetized that one engagement from just a one keynote, 45 minutes, an hour, to a series? Or is there a way that you monetize the audience? You have some other service. I know you've got your stack of books. Um, how are some other ways that you make that sustainable? Because you're
Right.
all in. You're not half body in the water, like you said earlier. You dove right in. So how did you maximize the monetization of it so that it could be a sustainable speaker life that impacts the world, right? But also has a positive impact on your family life as well.
Again, it needs to be somewhat individual and based upon what you love to do, as that, the back of the room sale, if you want to call it that. For me, I love to write, so I wrote books, and I love to record my stories. So in my earlier days, I had an event, for example, that I did in Toronto, and I got my standard speaking fee for a keynote, but I made 5 times that in selling product that
Mm.
day. Now, products product sales are different now. They're not there. People aren't buying tangible books quite as much as they used to buy them. But so there are other ways that you can go. One other thing that I've done to monetize, and this is really kind of a springboard in a way from COVID, when we had to go to remote, and that is I'm a speaker now for a faculty member for a company called Fuel, and Fuel is a digital learning library, and they are using micro learning. So I've recorded 5 programs, 5, they're like 6 or 7 or 8 sessions. None of them are over 8 minutes, that take a lot of my foundational teaching and put them into bite-sized chunks, inch by inch, anything's a cinch. So that is a way to have income that I don't have to be there to make that income. For some people, they really love coaching more than they actually love speaking. So their speaking is simply a way to accelerate and scale the opportunity to get coaching clients. But again, you need to love what you do. So I think that the main message I would say is that the most important thing you do, however you determine how you want to do additional income opportunities, is make sure you deliver on your presentations. Make sure that you are so completely passionate and prepared, and um, and that you give all that you have to give, and then you're going to do well on that follow up, because people will want more in whatever form works best for you. I'm really kind of high on this new digital micro learning, because people our audiences today want more in less time, and so this is a way to fulfill that and create a residual income, that I may be making some good income when I'm on the stage, through that digital library that's going on at the same time I'm speaking, and I only had to record it once, and it reaches millions of people.
Is that similar to like Udemy, or is that something different?
it's kind of similar. It's it's kind of unique in the sense that they are using the same kind of technology that Netflix uses to kind of customize. They know what you are going to like. So, and they're using that kind of technology to make the videos that they do. It's a video library, incredibly entertaining. So they're using high technology to make the videos themselves very active and interactive. They use interaction. So they actually automatically pause for you to type on your screen while the thing's going on. So it is there have been similar kinds of ideas over time, but I think they brought it all together in such a way that really makes sense. The micro learning, the individual technology, it's the use of AI, if you will, and understanding that you can't educate unless you entertain. You have to edutain.
Mm-hmm. Another really great quote. Click. That's fabulous. And you know what? I've toyed around with the idea of Udemy. There was some things I didn't like about that particular platform. Everybody is different. I'll check out Fuel. I hadn't actually heard about it, but I think
Brand new, brand new.
not necessarily because that's where I'm going to draw my revenue and the bigger part of my revenue, but more where I can draw those who are looking for the information. Right, you want to be wherever the people are looking for your information, podcasts, your books, right? Obviously the conferences that put you in front of those right fit faces, and these platforms, these learning libraries that people go to when they want to learn something. So be there, be omnipresent, be findable, stop being the best kept secret, right? There's just one more way to get yourself in front of the right fit faces. So brilliant.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a way to instead of planting seeds one at a time, you're planting thousands of them at the same moment. So it's a great way to look at it. As again, every one of those videos that people watch is a chance for a potential live event, and vice versa.
Super seeds, as you called them. I've not heard them. I might borrow that from you. I'll give you credit. That's
Please do. Highest compliment is to borrow.
yes. Model, don't copy, right? That's what we always say. So at this stage in our talk, I know that there are plenty in our audience, plenty of people who are going to want to know, where do they hear more about what you're doing? Where do they find you? What are some of the best places for people to find your books, to find how they can bring you into their organization to talk, or just to hear more about what it is that you train? Mhm.
Well, I thank you for that. The easiest place to reach me is certainly my website, which is just my name, www.brianbiro.com. It's BrianBiro. I know you have it. That also gives you my direct contact information if you want to reach out to me. So that's the best. It also gives you a chance to kind of take a look at some of my videos and that sort of thing. Um, my books are available. Several of them are available anywhere you get a book, Amazon or Barnes and Noble or whatever. And you can also get products through my website, but definitely my website. I always promise and I always come through. If you reach out to me, I will definitely respond.
That's saying
The
a
only
lot
way that
about
I
your
might not is if it goes to spam, but and I don't pay attention, don't know it. But if it gets to me, I will respond, and the first few words will say "joy to you."
Ah, I love that. And that's saying a lot about you, about how much you do care about your audience, because I know you're out there, and that can equal up to a lot of people reaching out to you, and that you're committed to respond to each one, unless it goes to spam, is fabulous. So Brian, no tricks, Brian, Biro, no tricks, Biro, brianbiro.com, in case you're listening and you don't have the visual up. It will definitely be in the show notes, but look him up. He's just a wealth of knowledge. He's really making this speaker life happen in some pretty exciting ways. And just your content alone. I was seeing some of the titles of your books. I'm like, ooh, I think I need that one and that one. So you've got some really great things going on out there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so our signature question, you know that this is SpeakPact, and this is our pact together, and our unified pact with the audience to make the greatest impact you can through the power of your voice. Right? Get your voice out there. Get those hard learned lessons and stories out there, right? Inspire somebody. So what would you say, knowing what you know today, to Brian, the Brian of 35 years ago? And a lot has changed in the industry, but what are some key things you might have done things differently, or you might have just relaxed yourself about in those early days as you were emerging and becoming the speaker that you are now?
I would say that it comes down to the difference between one word, changing one word to a different word. And when I started speaking, when I was a young and earlier in my life, I grew up with a dad, like a lot of us, whose dad had a hard time ever saying, "I love you, I'm proud of you," giving a hug. And so I built up this enormous need for approval. And many speakers, that's why they want to speak, they want approval. And one day, at really about the darkest day of my life, it finally hit me that I had spent my entire life living focused on comparison, that I had to be the best at whatever I did. And the best is all about comparing yourself to other people. And I realized that was a fruitless and an impossible journey to worry about how I compared to everyone else. And one day at that moment, I said, you know what I want to live the rest of my life focusing on is being my best.
Mm.
Let go of the best, be my best. And that's the way I look at speaking, is that I don't control the audience. I don't control anyone else. People come up and say, "Oh, you changed my life." I always say the same thing. I say, "Thank you, but you changed your own life. If I was a spark, I'm happy, but you're the one who took that spark and created something with it." And so when I come from that place of doing what I love, and the reason I speak is not for that approval, but to know that I'm doing what I was put on earth to do, and that I've given my best to do it, that will make you authentic. That will make you fully present. And that will release your energy, because those are the most important keys to really reaching an audience, is being fully present. If they know you're up in your head thinking about what you're going to say in 10 minutes, you've lost them. And people won't remember that much of what you say, no matter how well you say it, but they'll never forget your energy. And the only way you can really be free in your energy is to let go of comparing and just come from that place of being your best. So that's really I think the pivotal piece in my life and my career.
Key. Key. Okay. So I'm going to paraphrase, make sure I got it right. So set your need for approval, no matter what you went through growing up. We've all been through our trauma moments, right? Set that at the door. Make it about the audience, not about you. Don't focus on comparing yourself to some other speaker, right? Maybe the speaker that went right before you. Drop the imposter syndrome. And if I think that you can't really need approval or be focused on comparing when you honestly are more concerned with the transformation you're going to make for the individuals in that audience. So focus on that, and you're going to deliver at your best. That's what I took away from what you said. Did I get pretty close?
Absolutely. And each person will take, the other thing to let go of. You want people to really gain, but they're going to gain what they're going to gain, because their path is, some people will hear the same conversation, they'll get, and the same presentation. Somebody will say, "This is what I got." And the other person will say, "No, that's what I got." Yeah, it's all there. You get what you need to get, but our job is to deliver it out there to help them make that choice.
Yes. Okay. You brought it, Brian. Thank you for being here. Thank you for pouring yourself. If this is any indicator, which I'm sure it is, of how much you give when you are on any stage, this is just a fabulous testimony to the speaker that you are. And thank you for being so generous with all of these nuggets that you've shared with us as we emerge our voices in our spaces.
It's my absolute joy. You're a delight, Antoniette, and I really enjoyed the conversation. It was fun. It was unique and different questions that really caused me to think, and I enjoyed every precious moment.
Ditto. All right. So to our speaker audience, ciao ciao for now.